If you've been on YouTube for any amount of time really, chances are you've seen content related to video games. From challenges to speedruns to playthroughs, aka a let's play, it's one of the most common and successful types of content on the platform. But before the birth of YouTube and the genre exploding into the global mainstream, Fuji TV took the concept and made it into a TV show. Enter GameCenter CX. First airing in 2003, GameCenter CX's original focus was a showcase of interviews with game developers, with a secondary feature called Arino's Challenge. Starting with the second season though, the challenge became the focus of the show. GameCenter CX stars Shin'ya Arino, a middle-aged comedian part of the comedy duo Yoiko, who is also a gamer. Arino is the KACHO, or section chief, of a fictitious company, and his goal every episode is to reach the end of a classic video game within a day. He usually plays from 10 AM to 11 PM or midnight to complete his challenge, but there are sometimes exceptions for longer games like Ocarina of Time. The catch? He sucks at playing. But he gets by with a little help from his assistant directors, or ADs. The ADs cycle out every so often, but their job is always the same. Help Arino when he's in a bind, either by offering hints, codes, or jumping in and playing either co-op or taking the reins themselves. Arino is a good sport. He never gets frustrated at being bad or reaching a tough part in a game. He takes it in stride, usually laughing it off. But when the going gets really tough, he'll put in a cooling pad, get quiet, and concentrate. And that's what pulls viewers in. Arino is an underdog in these challenges, and you can't help but cheer him on as he tackles these daunting tasks. GameCenter CX also has in-between segments to break from the challenge. The one featured in every season is called You Should Visit This Game Center Sometime, or Tamage for short, with Arino visiting arcades and shops recommended by viewers via postcards. Every season also has a unique segment, like Arino playing various Game & Watch games, trying to complete the notoriously bad Journey to the West game on Famicom by calling viewers for hints, and going to love hotels to look at naughty scenes in video games and take pictures using his cell phone. As of writing, GameCenter CX is on its 25th season, spanning over 300 episodes. On top of this, Arino has done several TV specials and bonus features for DVDs and Nintendo Online services. And the success doesn't stop at the show. GameCenter CX has received 3 video games, a film, and of course, merchandise all over, not to mention all the other recognition it's received in gaming culture in Japan. The Chief is iconic in his homeland, so how did he fare over in the West? Non-Japanese fans of GameCenter CX have had a heavy hand in making this show accessible to overseas fans, from fan subs to forum threads dating back to the mid-2000s. Today, we'll look at GameCenter CX's English dub history, including reviews, reactions, and what the future holds. But before we start, please consider liking and subscribing if you like this kind of content. I am currently on the road to 500 subscribers and plan to do a big special video once we reach that number. The first English rendition of GameCenter CX is from June 2008, where 2 episodes were shown at the New York Asian Film Festival. The show's English adaptation was handled by Style Jam, renaming it Retro Game Master for this release. Kind of ironic seeing as Arino struggles so much. Or is it supposed to be ironic? No, in any case, Style Jam drummed up Retro Game Master on their website, giving a basic explanation of the show, followed by how popular it is in Japan. It becomes abundantly clear the page is made for possible licensors, as more than half the page is talking about the show's success. The trailer listed on the page, now unavailable, was apparently mostly advertising the fame of the show and the sales numbers on Amazon in Japan, with not much mention of why the show is famous over there. The film festival presented the Season 2 episodes Mystery of Atlantis and Ghosts and Goblins. Both games are notable for being painfully hard, and what better way to introduce curious viewers to the series? While Arino and his staff's audio is left in Japanese, the narrator is dubbed over in English by Patrick Harlan, an American-born comedian living in Japan.
From an accidental fall on Stage 3 comes the discovery of a hidden warp to Stage 6. Warp portals are not always doors.
This approach in dubbing is comparable to other Japanese live-action shows released in America like Iron Chef and Ninja Warrior. One notable change in the translation is the assistant directors' names. Unlike Arino, whose name is kept, assistant directors Hiroshi Sasano and Shinichiro Tojima were renamed Assistant S and Assistant T, because God forbid they say their actual names. The episodes also cut out the extra segments like the Tamage bits and other bonuses, but we'll touch on why they did this later. Lastly, instead of translating the term KACHO, the dub leaves it as is, and Arino is commonly referred to as the KACHO. Wired.com's Jen Frank, in her write-up of the event, said that Style Jam's VP of International Marketing, Yuko Shiomaki, hinted that the debut of GameCenter CX at this event was inspired by the passionate fanbase online. Frank noting, apparently the very existence of said blogs astonished the folks at Fuji Television. It goes to show how much fans online can impact a series release. Frank also released footage of the event on Vimeo, and as of now, it is the only existing video of this dub and visual documentation of this event. In the conclusion of the article, Frank wrote, "Retro Game Master is, in a word, a success. For most fans, understanding Arino was the biggest payoff."
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I've watched, parts of the episodes on YouTube and things like that, but I've never, to be able to actually know exactly what was going on was amazing. It even added to the tension and the drama and the...
Oh, totally.
Everything.
God forbid, but what I'm saying is, there is a market.
Right, there is a market.
There is a market.
There is a market.
And the fanbase reacted well too. The excitement of GameCenter CX getting any kind of official release was surprising, despite the gripes of the dub. So the show did well in the screening, but what's next? A spokesperson for the project confirmed to a journalist on Silicon Era that Fuji TV had produced more subtitle episodes already and were seeking a licensor to release them on DVD. The article went on to speculate the recently released GameCenter CX DS game may make its way to the US and maybe the show will air on G4. Well, at least one of those things happened. During the announcement of a sequel to the Nintendo DS title GameCenter CX Arino's Challenge, the GameCenter CX staff was excited to announce that the first game was coming to Western shores. In the same vein as the show's rebranding in the West as Retro Game Master, the game's name was changed to Retro Game Challenge and came out on February 10th, 2009. The game starts out with a Star Wars-esque monologue of the plot. The Western release keeps in Arino, and even mentions him by name.
Having been utterly defeated by his friends in every current-gen multiplayer game, Arino longed to become a gaming master.
Whoa! Whoa, rewind.
Arino.
After the narrator butchers the pronunciation of the show's host, the story goes, Arino was so determined to become a gaming master, a version of him spawned on the Nintendo 3DS as Game Master Arino, or Demon King Arino in the Japanese version. Game Master Arino began to challenge players globally, and now he's in your DS. He sees you as a worthy opponent, and he's gonna take you back to the past, by sending you to the 80s, where you get to hang out and play video games with a young Arino. Game Master Arino talks to you throughout the game, surprised you are clearing his challenges as he issues new ones. And young Arino is aware of and reacts to seeing future Arino. The game has 8 different retro-style games to play, ranging from a space shooter, to a racing game, to an RPG. Each game comes with 4 challenges plus a manual. Along the way, to go even further with the 80s experience, Arino will bring home a new issue of Game Fan magazine. The magazines serve as an informer, giving each game features like developer comments and press coverage, and give tips and tricks for reaching secrets in the game or cheat codes for things like 99 lives. It really gives you an edge. I'm sorry about that. The game was localized with love and care by Xseed, making the game more accessible to Western players who have no context for GameCenter CX and slipping in fun references along the way. In the Japanese version of the game, the magazine's editors are the 80s of GameCenter CX, but in the American version, they are replaced by parodies of gaming journalists. For example, the very first issue of GameFan has articles written by Dan Sock, a parody of Dan Shu from OneUp.com. When asked by fans if this was really him, Dan said, "They got the okay from me months ago, but I haven't bought the game yet to see for myself." There's a Q&A portion of the magazine as well, with the staff receiving questions from readers with, interesting names. Fans of The Simpsons will get a kick out of many of these pseudonyms.
Hey, has anybody seen my crotch lately? See more butts? Huge ass. Ivana Tinkle. Is IP freely here? Homosexual?
Arino voices himself in the original game, but in the Western release, he is voiced by Yuri Lowenthal. Yuri is a famous name in voiceover, known for voicing Sasuke Uchiha in Naruto, Yosuke Hanamura in Persona 4, and Ben Tennyson in Ben 10, amongst hundreds of other roles in his career. Arino will react to your gameplay, complimenting you when you do well or acting disappointed when you fail.
Alright! Dude! Okay, let's do this! You giving up?
The game received warm reception from critics, netting a respectable 77% on Metacritic. OneUp.com gave Retro Game Challenge an A-. How much their presence in the game affected the score is unclear, but given how other sites gave this game praise, like IGN gave it an 8.6 out of 10 and Eurogamer gave it an 8 out of 10, I think it's valid. But good ratings do not always equal good sales. Ex-Seed Director of Publishing Ken Berry said in an interview with Silicon Era, "We've gotten tons of emails from fans that say, 'Thank you so much, we love Retro Game Challenge, it's my favorite DS game of all time,' but when you look at the sales numbers that actually picked it up and really being vocal about it, it's pretty small compared to the other DS owners out there. The sales aren't quite there to justify bringing the sequel." Berry, with Ex-Seed president Jun Iwasaki, dropped the number of how many more copies would need to be sold to bring the sequel to the West. 20,000. With Iwasaki saying they need to hit at least 100,000 copies. So while this game is regarded as a cult favorite, it just didn't sell enough to bring the second DS game to the West, or the 3DS game that followed it. Official English GameCenter CX content went quiet for a couple of years, with most new material being from the fanbase doing more fan subs. But Fuji TV was continuing to work hard to sell the popular program to licensors in the US. And eventually, they finally found their match. Gawker Media and a bigger boat, with episodes being posted weekly on Gawker Media's video game news website Kotaku. The deal was announced on June 15th, 2011, just over a week before Kotaku started posting the episodes on June 23rd. This is how I discovered the show. I had heard of it before, but didn't know much about it. Once Kotaku started uploading Retro Game Master weekly, I had plans every single Thursday at 8 p.m. to watch as Arino took on his many gaming challenges. Kotaku posted 12 episodes of Retro Game Master, featuring games both well-known and unknown in the US. The first episode was Ninja Gaiden, a great starting point as many gamers overseas know this as a difficult game. Other games include Bonanza Brothers, Mighty Bomb Jack, Clock Tower, Battle Golf for Yui, no relation, and Golden Axe. This rendition of GameCenter CX brought the show more foreign fans than it's ever had, but existing fans had their gripes. First off, the lack of Tamage segments. I mentioned this earlier in the 2008 dub. The Tamage segments were removed, and that's because the extra segments are usually removed for DVD releases in Japan as well. They're only shown for the broadcast version, while the home video release only has the challenge. So this is one factor nobody had a say in. They just didn't come with the episodes. Secondly, the translation. Some of the changes in the script was out of the hands of Gawker Media and a bigger boat, as these changes were found in the 2008 dub too. The biggest one being Arino is referred to as the KACHO. That seems to be something Style Jam required. But the actual translation in the dub was spotty at times. It's overall competent enough, but take this for example. In the episode about Super Fantasy Zone, Arino jokes how one boss's turrets reminds him of baby chocolate candies. During the boss battle, the narrator in the dub says,
"The KACHO focuses the attack on baby chocolate. Twin bomb scores baby chocolate."
Excuse me? What? The second example is in Mystery of Atlantis, where the narrator calls the difficult jumps from side to side Geary jumps, implying that's the name of the trick, where it should be what is called in the subtitles edge jumps. It's not even consistent between the on-screen text and the dub script. Third, the narrator. Much like the dub from 2008, this dub of Retro Game Master has the cast's voice in Japanese, but the narration in English. The narration in this dub is provided by American comedian Adam Ray. And oh boy did this guy have mixed reviews. From the brief footage and description of Patrick Harlan's performance in 2008, Harlan plays it close to the original tone, but Ray takes it a totally different direction, sounding more excited and far campier than the Japanese narrator. It sounds good for a standard announcer voice, but not for the context of this show. And remember how we talked about in the DS game Arino was pronounced Arino?
Arino.
Yeah, it's back. Unlike the 2008 showing, the assistant directors in this dub do keep their names, with two being butchered even worse than Arino's name. Inoue is pronounced Inui, and Urakawa is Urakawa. That reminds me of Yu Yu Hakusho's mispronunciation of Urameshi. An official Retro Game Master Facebook page was made in September 2011, run by Yuko Shiomaki, starting with a very special, exciting announcement. During the show's run on Kotaku, Arino made a special emergency business trip to California to celebrate both his American debut and the 15th anniversary of BS Sky's Perfect TV. The GameCenter CX crew flew to the US in September of 2011, with Arino's big event in Los Angeles taking place on the 9th. The crew documented the experience in a 2-hour TV special, filled with American music in the background and featuring a special Arino's challenge playing RoboCop. Leading up to the event, the Facebook page uploaded special videos from Arino to hype up the fans.
First Godzilla, then Sushi. Now Retro Game Master is coming to conquer America. Watch the KACHO on Kotaku.
Much like his other trips, Arino didn't just go to do an event. He also had a taste of American culture by sightseeing in San Francisco, Antioch, and Fresno the day before. He also received English translation cards so he could say common words and phrases, but also some extra ones like,
I'm tired because of long trip.
It's fun to see Arino try his best to break the language barrier. In classic Arino fashion, he laughs off a lot of the misunderstandings.
You gotta dry them off, that's the bad part.
Doraemon?
Yeah, that's why I blow on.
The next day, Arino didn't think many fans would show up, keeping his expectations low by saying 50 would be great. If there are 4 or 5, let's take them out to dinner. And the results? An estimated 200 people showed up to the event held at Japan Arcade, 4 times as many as expected. Fans cheered and chanted at the host's arrival. Handshakes, autographs, photo ops, and more. Fans excitedly met with the KACHO, including Ray Barnhold, a longtime member of the Western fandom and one of the, evangelists that helped the series gain traction overseas. Other staff members got a lot of love too. I mean, they all play a role in the show. They all get screen time. The event coverage wraps up by noting the staff never thought the show would come to America, with Can't Fight This Feeling playing in the background. So Kotaku aired the final episode of Season 1, Golden Axe, on September 15th, 2011. Kotaku also teased the possibility of a Season 2, and fans eagerly awaited. Right? On January 13th, 2012, Kotaku announced there would be no Season 2. Their rights to Retro Game Master were expiring, and they encouraged fans to get one last marathon in before they had to pull it. Kotaku described Retro Game Master as an experiment, and apparently it just didn't do well enough to warrant a Season 2. It was time for the GameCenter CX team to start looking elsewhere to bring the beloved program to the US. Thankfully, it would not take them very long to get a bite. April 20th, 2012, just over 3 months after Kotaku announced the discontinuation of Retro Game Master, Discotek Media posted they'd obtained the rights to publish the show on DVD. And not only would it have the 12 dub episodes, but it would have 2 bonus episodes, sub not dubbed, Ninja Gaiden 2 and Mystery Dungeon Shiren the Wanderer. Other than the license being picked up by Midnight Pulp and posted to YouTube with these clickbaity titles and posted on their website without them, this was the final piece of GameCenter CX material released officially in the West. Well, kind of. Arino did make one final appearance in the Western market officially, in an unexpected way. In Super Mario Maker on the Wii U, Arino appears as a costume that Mario can use, and when you press up on the controller, he says, KACHO ON! So what's the future looking like for GameCenter CX in the West? Official material? Probably not. Fan subs? Yes, and it is an ongoing effort, as it's always been. GameCenter CX continues to enjoy a devout fan base that continues to release subtitled or even raw releases of newer content, and it shows no sign of slowing down. This is a case of how fans of a niche series can have a strong influence on companies. Had it not been for the die-hard watchers and subbers of the show overseas, Fuji TV likely wouldn't even have considered the idea of bringing it to other countries. In a way, that's beautiful, and it's an encouraging thought for fans of other obscure series. If you would like to see GameCenter CX / Retro Game Master for yourself, I have resources in the description to buy the DVD and see the fan subs. There is a giant community for this, and I highly encourage you to check out this show if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned because I'll be announcing the next video after the credits. If you liked this video and want to see more, please leave a like, Subscribe and leave in the comments, what did you think of the dubs of GameCenter CX? How did you first find out about the series? What should I cover in future videos? I'm always listening to your suggestions. If you'd like to keep up with what I'm doing and get the occasional hint on what's next, please follow me over on Twitter. Shout out to all of my subscribers on Twitch, on screen now. Twitch subscribers get to see the videos the day before they're uploaded, so if you'd like to support what I do and get to see stuff early as well as progress reports and have your name on screen here, please consider subscribing. Until next time, take care.